know how you'll clean your whole house to avoid making like one phone call? Like you want to feel productive, but you don't want to do the work that actually needs to be done, but then you finally make the phone call and it takes like 10 minutes and you've been pushing it off for 2 weeks. Yeah, that's me and outlining my books. It's a short process, but normally I would rather just plow ahead into writing the book without a plan. I've been a pantser my entire life and I've been writing stories since I was like 5-ish. So this has been like a 20+ year habit for me. I just thought outlining was kind of useless, to be honest, because it always seemed like the writing flowed better when I was just letting everything immediately onto the page and let the characters tell the story and kind of go with a more natural flow to things. Let me tell you what happens when you do that. You end up with a bunch of scenes you don't actually need because they don't really have a purpose and they don't really move the characters forward, but you just thought it'd be fun to write. You get 200 pages into a novel only to find out you have no idea how to conclude because there's not a plan in place. When that happened to me, I thought that just meant I needed to sort of wait for the ending scenes to hit me, to come to me like I'm some sort of visionary. And sometimes that happens. That has happened to me before, but sometimes that is just not the case. I made a full outline for a novel this past week, and I must tell you what I've learned. So preface, I'm trying to take on a series of creative projects, and I'm spending 12 weeks on each of them because I was trying to do them all at once. And that meant I got to spend like 5 minutes on each of them, and I was just not making any type of progress. So for the past 12 weeks, I was learning how to tattoo, and honestly, I'm very proud of the progress that I've made. And for this 12 weeks, I'll be writing a novel, and I just got done with week 1. I really want it to be good because I want to get it published. So I decided to try the outlining thing because I wanted a really clear vision of where I'm going over the next 3 months, and I want to have a finished, concluded draft by the end of the 3 months. And let me tell you, I think I'm an outliner now because over the past week, I wrote a 10,000 word outline. Look at her. So knowing me, I'll probably change a few things here and there as I go, but during the process, I feel like I got so much out of it, and I feel way more immersed in the story than I usually do, which is wonderful. I used Abby Emmons' outline template and her scene card template. So for each story beat, like, you know, the hook, the inciting incident, all that, I have a cause, effect, a little explanation of why what happened in the scene matters to the overall story and the themes, and how what happened pushes us into the next scene. Not only has this helped me craft a more dynamic story, I think it's gonna help me a ton with the pacing to keep it fast and exciting. I tend to get caught up adding a lot of extra scenes with banter or dialogue that don't really have a ton of purpose to moving the story. It also meant when I was working on the plot, I could see things that were happening and then go back into the outline earlier and slip in little clues and foreshadowing and stuff. And that's much harder to do when you already have a full scene written and then you feel like you need to go add in these little asides. It feels unnatural. And so doing it in the outline, I think, is going to make it a lot easier to seamlessly incorporate those things. And it also made it a lot easier to focus on developing the character's internal conflict because I'm not just focused on what's happening. I'm focused on why, and then also how that develops both of my main characters as people and not just who they are at that moment in the scene. If you're watching this and you've been an outliner your entire life, you're probably like, duh, that's like how you're supposed to do it. But it has not ever been this way for me before, and I've sort of always relied on instinct, and to an extent that works. It's not always a bad thing. I've looked back at some of my writing, and it sort of follows the natural flow of a 3-act story structure, even though I wasn't really thinking about how I was setting up the story or how it was supposed to play out due to the structure. And I think like story is built into us. We've heard so many stories that sort of becomes an intrinsic part of us trying to tell our own. But being more intentional about it this time has been really nice, and I feel like I'm a little more put together heading into this draft. If you're also a pantser, I highly recommend just trying it out. I'll leave links to the outlines that I used in the description if you want to go to Abby Emmons' channel and grab those. Also, I'm not going to be putting this in a giant Google Doc. I'm going to try Scrivener. I've had Scrivener for a long time, but I've never really gotten through a project with it before. But it's so cute. I've got all these little cork boards with where I'm going. I also like that inside of Scrivener you can set up a vibe. I don't want to talk about how long it took me to figure out how to add these little background images. Also, over the past, I don't know, like 2-3 years maybe, I've been curating a playlist that matches my main character Marley's vibe. And of course I didn't listen to any of it while I was working on this. Instead, I listened to Strangers on repeat for hours at a time. That song that has been going viral. Sometimes that's how it goes. You have to find a song that matches the wavelength up here and just play it on repeat. I don't know if you do that when you're writing, but I'll start a playlist and I'll either completely zone out and not even hear the song that I'm listening to, or I will find a song that my brain is absolutely vibing with and I will play that on repeat for like 3 hours. Example, Formula from the Euphoria soundtrack. I've never even seen the show. It's a good vibe for a writing song. Embers, anything by Ruel. Shameful example, that remix of Pose that was on TikTok, but then there's like an insert from Star Wars? Roger. They do have like a 2-hour version of that on YouTube. Halftime. I will not be elaborating.
Hey, I'm trying to get crunk.
Just goes to prove that there is no bad writing music. There is just what your brain decides to work to that day, and there is no fighting it. But now that I am equipped with an outline and a playlist if I need it, I am now headed into the second week of this writing boot camp that I'm putting myself through. And I'm gonna go ahead and start writing and follow the outline as I go. If I eat my own words and the characters decide to go completely off the rails and the outline proves to be useless, I will keep you updated, but I really hope that doesn't happen. But I'm really excited to work on this story. If you want to follow along in this 12-week writing journey, or you're interested in other writing and book-related content, please subscribe. The button is somewhere. My name's Katelyn. Thanks for watching. Bye!